I was at the Art College in Manchester between 74 and 78. During that period, punk happened. And I was studying graphic design with my best friend who'd been at school with me, Malcolm Garrett. And we were both just really keen to get involved in what was happening. And punk was the single biggest cultural event in what was my short lifetime at the age of 20. I was 21 in 76, and I remember at the time feeling quite distinctly that this is perhaps what rock and roll had been like in the 50s. By the mid-70s, as a young person in the UK, you felt that you had become a rather passive recipient of popular culture. You were a punter. You'd go and see a band in an auditorium with 2,000 or 3,000 other people. It was all one step removed, well, more than one step removed from your own kind of everyday existence. And when punk happened, it suddenly localized the experience. Suddenly you were in a bar or a small, kind of basement venue somewhere with maybe 200 people rather than 2,000, and whoever was performing was 20 feet away rather than 200 yards away, and this was really quite fresh experience, and there was this remarkable sense of involvement, and also a kind of freeze frame moment where the establishment, the kind of pop cultural establishment, were kind of caught unawares. It's kind of like time stood still for a moment, and the kind of grown-ups didn't get it, and the younger people did. And there was this kind of moment of opportunity to kind of step through. You had the sense that you could step through the doorway and do something. So there were, kids, and if they wanted to be in a band, they picked up a guitar, and the next night they were in a band. They didn't have to do very much. They just had to have the will to be there. And Malcolm and I felt very much the same. We wanted to work with bands. We'd kind of dreamt of doing record covers since we'd been at school together, and suddenly, we knew people who were making records. The person you were having a drink with at the bar last night was, on stage tonight and possibly going to be having a record deal or cutting a record, next week, and you felt that you could be involved. So this was kind of quite a remarkable moment. The attitude was that I mean, in a very in the true spirit of punk, everybody was doing something that they wanted to do. We were doing something that we believed in. The profitability issue didn't come into it. Nobody was involved in what we were doing for the purposes of making money. Everybody was doing what they did because they wanted to do it, and there was an opportunity to do it. Tony organised a Friday night at the Russell Club because he cared to organise it, because there was nowhere else at that point in time where bands could play in Manchester. So he cared to do it. I did a poster for it because I cared that there was a good poster. Bands played because they wanted to play. We released a record because there was some money available and we wanted to do it. The idea of actually getting the money back was quite unexpected, and the idea of there being any profit was totally unexpected. This was the spirit of everybody who contributed to Factory, and it was the spirit of the groups. I mean, Joy Division made a record because they wanted to make a record, not because they wanted to sell records. The Factory experience was never a business, which was, of course, its quintessential appeal, and perhaps well, not perhaps at all, almost certainly why it's respected and remembered with such reverence. On one or two occasions, he's appalled me with his kind of lack of conscience. But we've kind of always managed to get over a difference and stay friends. And I am still friends with Tony, and if he's in town and he calls and says, let's go and eat or something like that, I always look forward to it. I think most people saw him as, you know, a kind of lone figure from the grown-up world who was, in a way, crusading the cause. So even though he was a slightly different generation and coming from a slightly different place, everybody respected his kind of involvement, his support. He was supportive of it, and whether we liked him or not, we respected the fact that he was very supportive, and also everybody just felt like they knew him.